Shalom, and welcome again to Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. I'm your host, Rabbi Richard Address. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Again, a reminder that if you want to make a comment or a suggestion for us, please email me at rabbiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. Check out the website, jewishsacredaging.com. And also, if you are trolling through, visit us on Facebook at Jewish Sacred Aging on Facebook. Tomorrow night, Jews all over the world will gather for Seder, for the beginning of Passover. This year, Passover perhaps will take on some very, very different meanings. And to help explore some of those possibilities, we're very pleased to welcome two distinguished contemporary rabbis and, full disclosure, people I've known for a few years. So please welcome Rabbi Amy Schwartzman, the Senior Rabbi Rodef Shalom in Falls Church, Virginia, and Rabbi Matthew Soffer, the Senior Rabbi of Judea Reform Synagogue in Durham, North Carolina. So with the official, Matt, Amy, thank you very, very much for joining us. I really am very, very grateful. I know things are very busy. First of all, I hope your families are well. I wish you just the joyful and most of all, healthy Passover. We're going to begin tomorrow night with Manish Tana. Why is this night different from all other nights? The first question I want to ask both of you, because I have a sense for some reason that this Passover is different, just different than previous Passovers. And I just want to ask you to reflect upon that. Amy, then Matt, if it's okay, you want to start?
Well, let me begin by saying what a privilege and honor it is to be with both these good friends and to be part of this important conversation as we are about to step into yet another season of important themes. And I think here, Richie, is where we have the intersection of our reality today, right now, and our tradition. And here is where we find ourselves in a way in a new place. I mean, for all of us, Passover, our Seder, our Sedarim every year, raise up these themes that we all know so well of freedom and oppression, right? Of tyranny and resistance, of redemption and hope. And this year, the overlay of what is happening in our country, and for those of you who don't know, Falls Church, Virginia is about 5 miles from the White House, so very much in the Washington area. The overlay of these themes, and in particular with all the changes that are happening in our government, I would be really just upfront and saying the dismantling of our government, the threat to our democracy that we're experiencing right now in our country, when you put those realities on top of the Seder, you feel a great weight. And I think the themes are going to be speaking to my guests and myself in a really palpable way this year.
Matt?
Thanks, Richie. And yeah, this is wonderful to be back. I'm also a little surprised you had me back. My goodness, after the last time I was on, I can't believe it. It's everything that Amy just shared, I feel entirely. What I'm thinking about a lot is this extra layer of angst, and it's not like we haven't had. If we go back to 2020 and we see Pesach arrived a month after or into the shutdown. We're sort of used to the experience of arriving to Passover kind of unprepared and raw and grieving, but this year it seems to come with a degree of angst and also outrage. Just there's so much pain, and right, every year as we go through the themes of Passover and we think about the modern forces of Pharaoh's army, it triggers different imagery of our real world today, and I can't recall a time where it's easier to translate what the oppression of and the abuse of power from that, in the story of Exodus, what that looks like in our world today. And I just, there's going to be so many people around the table, around every table, with different kind of grieving experiences. So right now, just trying to think about how to frame our conversations and help us see our pain, our grief, and then have a Seder that holds it in a very real way. It's in the home, so we don't want to let, how do we guard our home? How do we make sure that the kind of conversations we have at the Seder table reflect that kind of higher way of relating to each other?
Most people see us in an official capacity, but I'm going to take a little bit of a chance here and ask you to just put the official congregational role aside for a second. Both of you have families. Amy had adult children, Matt, younger children. How is the approach of this particular Passover impacting you personally? Not forget the congregation. We'll get to the congregation, but personally, as a mom, as a dad, is it changing you? Is it making you more frustrated, or just people just don't really understand? I think the neshama, the private neshama that their rabbi carries with them. And here we are on the eve of this momentous festival, surrounded by so much stuff. Matt, you want to lead off?
Sure. Yeah. Really appreciate the question. Like, dare you suggest that we're human beings? Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah.
No, I mean, like I think my experience this Passover and this year is very much colored by just my role as a parent, and being in this cohort of folks who are trying to parent as actively while also leading professional lives is really, really hard and stressful. I really appreciate that this is something that's becoming increasingly discussed. I know our former Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, tried to draw attention to the struggle that working parents right now really have to, cope with the world, but also move this business of, keeping our kids where they need to be at every time. So my brain is a little split between all the stuff that just has to happen and the stuff within the world of our kids, wanting them to have a childhood that's really functional and wonderful and wonder-filled, and the very raw reality of the world that we're in. And holding both of those at the same time, it seems to be the kind of an ultimate struggle of being a rabbi with 3 young kids.
Yeah. Amy?
Well, I'm anticipating a lot of emotion tomorrow evening. I'm an emotional person. I cry at like every holiday, every life cycle event. But for me, I'm anticipating how real the Seder is going to feel. So, the Seder is, at least in some very past time, about our history and our narrative of the past. And in more ways than it has been before, the Seder will be real to us. I mean, we're going to read about oppression, about the misuse of power. Thank you, Matt, for saying that earlier. And, it isn't just going to be symbolic and historic. I think we're all, and my kids are in their 20s, and they're just coming into the reality of sort of what society is offering them or not offering them. And it's going to be incredibly real. But I'm trying to remind myself that, in every story of tyranny, there's also a story of resistance. And I hope that we will get up from the Seder table changed. Because of course, that's the purpose of the Seder. If you just do the Seder and you don't change, you've missed an opportunity. And certainly, especially in our Reform Judaism, very committed to using the tradition to launch into something that is for the good, social justice out there. So while I think the the Seder will be, tough and emotional on me. I also I'm going to look to it. I'm going to look to those symbols to really launch me. And I'm going to, as one of the Seder leaders, because I luckily share it with others, to really drive home the point that we have to be inspired by this Seder to go out, not just hear the oppression, right? Not just hear about the tyranny of Pharaoh, but about the resistance of Moses and the Jewish people. Go with that too.
Has the events of the last couple of years, I mean, not only the changes in the administration, but the wars in Ukraine and Gaza, where is your particular sense of faith? Has it been shaken? Has it been tested?
I feel that my faith in the agency and efficacy of Judaism has not been shaken at all. My feeling about America, my feeling about Israel on some level has changed. And that is really hard. But I feel regularly kind of the uplift and the grounding at the same time of what Judaism offers me. And in that way, my faith has not changed. But to be honest, how I feel about my fellow Americans at times has changed. I'm, struggle with the individual who I see as a Pharaoh figure in Israel right now, naming him Netanyahu. How I feel anger that both of the tyrants that I am living with are bringing anger into my heart. I don't want my heart hardened to speak to the story of the day. Right. So while parts of my faith haven't changed, parts of my reality have.
Has that? Yeah, go ahead.
I really appreciate the attention that you're lifting up, Amy, to the hardening of the hearts. I also don't think that my faith changed as much as my trust in the institutions that growing up I certainly took for granted or regarded as a kind of given. So I have certainly much less trust of the government, much less trust of any elected leader. Truly, they have to earn trust. And right now, when we have so much betrayal of trust, so much betrayal of promise, it's sort of drawn faith much more. I think it's distilled. What is it that we're faithful about? But the threat of having a hardened heart, I feel like right now we are way too versed than we ever wanted to be in that struggle. There's understanding how to relate to governments that are really shameful, and it's hard because I grew up. We want to take pride in our government. I grew up being really proud of my connection to Israel and proud of Israel and proud of, and by extension, I would assume the government. Right now, I love Israel, and the behavior of Netanyahu and his ministers it's a source of shame. And we know that, if someone is, if a Jew is pointed at and said, "Oh, Israel," then we know that that's an anti-Semitic act to just dump everything on the average American Jew. And still, we know that that the connection between Judaism and Israel is unavoidable. So right now, that grappling it's much more common. I imagine it'll be present at many Seder tables.
No, one of the underlying, just the mood here with this overwhelming rise in anti-Semitism across the country, regardless of where you live, and all the ADL figures of the hundreds of percents of increase in anti-Semitism, whether it's tied in with the permission post Charlottesville to hate, or what's going on in the Middle East and variety of different things. It has to seep into your soul, has to, over and above the politic of it. One of the things that is just different now for this Passover, and I want to raise it, although it's a very difficult question, from both of your perspectives in both of your communities, is how are you dealing with the impact of all these layoffs and firings? Amy's in the Beltway. Matt, you said that there are federal employees in Judea Reform. All of a sudden, within the space of a month less, you have people highly educated, professionals, out of work. And in many ways, castigated publicly as you don't show up, you're not doing anything, it's fraud, it's waste. What's going on within your own communities? Because I think people just need to know that. Amy, let me start with you because you're right in the Beltway.
This is an intense and really devastating time here. And I really appreciate, Richard, that you're mentioning. I think that there are plenty of people in our country who are really not taking in what is really happening here on a day-to-day basis. So I'm in a congregation in the Washington area, and we have about 1,800 families. And every other week we host an event. It's a gathering for federal workers. Hundreds of people are coming to this event. Okay. We have people, and I attended last week's event, where half the time people are speaking some kind of government language about taking your, 1095 ABC and downloading it into your F10, Xeroxing it 3 times and putting it in the blue folder. I don't know what they're saying. And the rest of the time they're speaking, Richie, about exactly what you talked about. The incredible, profound hurt of being told that their life's work is meaningless and that they are part of a problem. And then the portion of them each week, more and more, losing their jobs. We started last week another group of non-federal workers who are directly impacted by the contracts that they are holding. This is an even bigger group, including my own husband, whose work includes money from the government for environmental purposes. We have a subgroup there who only wants to talk about the DEI issue and being told that they must, erase DEI from their work. We have a special support group for all our families impacted and in fear of LGBTQIA, especially trans attacks, and a disabilities community also looking for support. We as a clergy team and as staff are sort of overwhelmed by the need. And we've created a separate website or pages within our website. Anyone can go see them at Temple Rodef Shalom for federal workers. Unbelievable resources. Some are free, some are not. It's in the atmosphere here because it affects so many, many people. It's really here. We're swimming through it. It's painful. It's overwhelming. It's every day. It's devastating.
Matt?
Yeah. We have I don't think I could say similar to Washington D.C., but for us, it's we certainly have the thousands of EPA workers here in Research Triangle, but really the infrastructure of the economy here is research based with Duke and UNC. So maybe half of our congregations in Durham, the other half in Chapel Hill, and a third half that's in the surrounding areas. But right now, similarly, the different tiers of ways that people are being affected, either directly finding out that they may have lost their funding or lost their job, and the employees that we do have or the congregants that we do have, who don't know what to expect, or where to go. So we're trying to maximize the number of people that are coming together. We're focusing on Shabbat, Friday night in particular, to get everyone in the same room, and every week we arrive at Shabbat, and my colleagues who lead services with me, we ask the question, all right, what is it that we really are trying to shape? Let's try and take the pulse. What is the energy? In that regard, we've been doing a sort of, and I've been encouraging folks, and now for Passover, I'm using the language of a spiritual energy audit to find out on a spiritual level, what are we taking in, including our news consumption. How are we taking care of our spirits, and making sure that that's a starting point for our conversations with each other, and that we're asking real questions to each other about how we're doing. We want to know what's actually going on in each other's lives, so that we can find ways to help. In that regard, we're also starting to have listening campaign conversations to actually hear what's happening in the ways that people are being affected.
I mean, again, this points out that the power and importance of a faith community. It really does. And thank you, both of you, for doing what you're doing. But and I'm just hearing in your own voice, there's so much more that needs to be done. What's left of the denominational structures in American Judaism, the URJ, the United Synagogue, whatever, can they be functioning in this way, or is it just, have the denominations just gone by their sell-by date?
I'm certainly asking that question as well, and I think it's going to be these organizations to answer. And yes, I mean the congregational, denominational organizations to answer. Are we going to listen to what's happening in the lives of our congregants? If so, we need to be listening directly to congregational rabbis and cantors who are hearing what's happening first, rather than what's necessarily flashing on the news, or what our leaders are learning from elsewhere. But I would like to see stronger leadership from organizations than what we're seeing from, for instance, the Anti-Defamation League, who's sowing the seeds of hate and perverting the understanding of anti-Semitism. That's been devastating as we're trying to actually help people understand how to keep themselves safe. So national leadership, I'm really hoping that what we could see from our movement and other leaders is some serious listening, and the organization of some very serious amount of resources to help people in their real lives.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amy.
I just add a little bit. I very much appreciate and align with Matt's ideas. I recently was talking to one of the leaders of the Reform movement, and I said something that I truly believe, which is this is a moment for not just the Reform movement, but all of progressive Judaism to claim space that is very needed right now. I do think the movements have kind of, I won't say lost their way, but kind of the confidence, the identity, the distinctness, the purposefulness, the intentionality of the movements has dissipated. And I feel like right now, at least here in America, there is this, we are waiting for our progressive Judaism to step in and have an impact that everyone is just waiting for, to be really our leaders. I think this could be an incredibly important moment to reestablish the precedence of progressive prophetic Judaism now. If not now, when kind of thing,
right, right.
Yeah. So our congregation needs to deal with a real financial reality. If hundreds of people their work situation changes, it's true that like our financial resources will change. These young people, their children still need to go to camp and things like that, and we need our movement to step in and help in that way. But really, I see an opportunity for progressive Judaism, all of our progressive movements, to grab something that no one is grabbing now in terms of a leadership of morality and justice. Our time is right here. Let's do it.
Yeah, we've spoken a lot, and I speak a lot in the workshops we do, and on Jewish sacred aging about we're living right now in this amazing age of transition within American Judaism. And I believe that. And we're in the middle of it. We probably don't even know what the end result will be. But every once in a while, you have these, I guess we want to call it teachable moments or invitations that the universe gives you to to practice what you preach. I think we're in that right now. And I would hope that we can restore some sense of vision. One of my pet peeves, other than the fact that nobody reads or understands history anymore, is that we've lost a sense of vision. And we used to have it, but we need to recapture it. And I think you're both correct of saying this is an invitation to reassert the vision of what it means to be a progressive, prophetic, religious community where the morals and ethics of the individual human being and their safety and nurturing and support come first. It's not political, although some people will say everything's political, but it is extremely personal. And given everything that's happened post-pandemic with so much angst and so much loneliness, I mean, Matt, you have alluded to the Surgeon General's books and reports, the transition all over intergenerationally, the transition with our relationship with Israel, which, as you've both alluded to, is undergoing significant change right now, especially generationally. This is a confluence of issues, and right at Passover. So I guess we're waiting for the Nachshon. We're waiting for a group of Nachshons to come for us and say, we can pray about it and talk about it and write resolutions, but somebody's got to walk into the water. Before we run out of time, the easy question, the softball question. We're on the eve of Passover. You're both fundamental leaders in our movement in American Judaism. What do you hope for in this coming year? What do you hope for out of this Passover? And you're in the Shoma, not for your congregation, for you. What do you want to get up from that Seder table? What do you want to finish that Yizkor service at the end of Pesach? What do you want to have happen?
My hope is that, and this is connected to what we were discussing about the Nachshon, what you lifted up about the Nachshon, is that we can be paying more attention to chutzpah and bravery, and we can be reinforcing it. Because right now, there are a lot of people with power who are going to, in real time, be making decisions about how much they want to risk. And I'm really hoping that, especially local leaders, that we can be facilitating and organizing a whole lot of love and encouragement to everyone's practice of bravery right now. I think we're going to see a lot of these choice points. So when I'm thinking about, I'm starting to think a lot about Elijah and that empty chair, and Elijah as a kind of repository for all of our fear and our hope, and to get conversations of meaning around bravery and courage going, and for us to just celebrate every single step that we can take to make that more powerful.
Thanks, Matt. Amy?
My feelings are closely tied to Matt's. One thing, though, I'll say just personally is I find I spend a lot of time trying to get above a feeling of fear about the future, just personally, reading the paper every day and thinking about my children and the future. So I am looking that the Seder is really going to inspire me. I'm counting on it. I'm going to lean into those rituals hard, and I'm going to ask them to do their job. But I'm also really committed to the Seder being a story. Again, I said this earlier, not about where we don't focus on tyranny and the tyrant, but on resistance and the leadership that brought us out, and it feels like right now, you open the paper and it's all about the tyrants. Okay. So let the Seder remind us of who we could be. Like in every story of a tyrant, there's a story of a resistor and someone who leads out. And so I hope personally, I'm lifted into that space, giving me some energy to keep going, and to focus again on that which is the good part, the part we're proud of, the part, as Matt said, that's about courage and our moral compass. So leading us towards that place of freedom and redemption and hope.
Well, maybe hopefully this year that when we open the door for Elijah, instead of waiting for him to come in, we symbolically say, get up and say, it's time for us to go out and do exactly what you guys are talking about. Because it is a messianic age hope. So that door can go both ways. Matt, Amy, thank you very, very much for your honesty, your openness, and sharing some of your soul with us. And first of all, to you and your families, happy, most of all, healthy Passover. Continue the work that you're doing because it's sacred work. And I value your friendship, and I'm very, very happy to call you friends and colleagues. So thank you very much. And see you at Camp Harlem this summer, hopefully.
Thank you, Richie.
Thank you, guys.
It was such a joy to be with you. And thank you for giving us the chance to talk about all this important stuff.
Believe me, my honor.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
To all of you, thank you very, very much for joining us on today's edition of Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. Again, if you'd like to make a comment, please drop me an email, rabbi address at jewishsacredaging.com. If you go to the website, jewishsacredaging.com, you'll see a very conveniently located donate button. And if you'd like to support the work of these podcasts and our work, just click on that, follow the prompts. It's pretty simple. Also, if you're a member of an organization or a company and you'd like to sponsor some of these podcasts, again, just email me. We'll take it from there. Seekers of Meaning is produced at the broadcast centers of Lubetkin Media in beautiful, bucolic, green, and lovely Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And we thank our producer, Steve Lubetkin, for his continued work and really genius in helping to put all of this together. Until we see each other again on the next Seekers of Meaning, I wish you a very joyous and healthy Passover. Stay safe, and most of all, be kind to one another. Shalom, Todah.